morning, guys. This is Abrahm with Pathfinder TV, instructor at the Pathfinder School. I'm back with you guys on part 2 of the axe restoration. The first part, we went over the materials that I'm using and what you're looking for in your axe head and your axe handle. In part 2, we're going to clean this axe head up, clean everything up on it, square the hammer pull on it up, put a nice keen edge on it, and get all of this surface rust and everything else off of it. So to start, what I'm going to do is, originally I had that wire wheel I was going to hook up to the bench grinder over there, but I got the wrong size, so that's not going to work, so we're on plan B. So I've got this little 80 grit flap wheel. I'm going to use this and just run it across here. That's what I've been using on these other axe heads, so it's going to work out good. So all I'm going to do is, obviously, take this little flap wheel, hook it up into a drill, a corded or cordless, whatever you have, doesn't matter. Get it hooked in there and just ride it along here. I'm going to actually run to where I'm having this axe head right now. I'm going to run it horizontal opposed to vertical, so I'm not going to go up and down like this. I'm going to run it long ways. So I'm going to do a little bit more here, and then I'll show you guys what the difference looks like between what I've already used the flapping wheel on and what I have not used the flap wheel on. To bring the camera up close so you guys can hopefully see this a little bit better, I'm going to move this light up and over a little bit so you guys can see exactly what I'm trying to show you, but you can definitely see where my left thumb is, right in here. This has not been flapped yet, but up in this area it has, so this is a lot darker. I'm just going to take that flap wheel all along here, everywhere in here that I can get it to reach, clean it up. Then I'm going to take this wire brush, this is a more coarse one, hook it up to the drill, and just run it across there everywhere to get the scratches that are going to be made nice and consistent. And then we're going to go ahead and clean the pull up on there, and then put a nice edge on there. I decided that I'm going to soak this axe head in some white vinegar, but before I do that, I want to go ahead and square this up on this belt sander. I know you guys are going to ask me what grit this is. I'm not sure what grit this belt is, but whatever grit it is, I've been using it and it works just fine. I've got some water right here, and then I've got some safety glasses I'm going to put on because safety's first. I don't want none of this metal crap getting in my eyes. So I did decide it's got some rust in there. I just want to make sure this just gets cleaned up really nice. That's why I'm going to soak it tonight in some vinegar, but first I'm going to take all that mushrooming off. So first is I'm going to take my actual glasses off and put some safety glasses on, so I get protected. Soak this, get it wet so that the temper doesn't get screwed up on it, which is important. And I'm going to turn this on and get started. guys what I have after I worked on the power tools with this. I squared it up pretty well. But what I'm going to do is I've got this vise and some kind of towel around it so I don't screw up the edge of the metal at all on this axe head. But I want to do less amount of work on the power tools and more of the work with handheld tools, just because I don't want to chance screwing the temper up. I mean, I did add water, but still, you want to make sure you don't screw it up at all. And I'm just kind of taking this mill bastard file and finish squaring it up by hand. That's what I like to do. So this vise is a smaller table vise, or like a little craft vise, pretty much. You got it at a craft store, Hobby Lobby, so it's not the greatest, but it will do the job. Just something to where I have two hands to work with, opposed to holding it and trying to keep it constant. Then I go across the top here. Don't have to be perfect, just make it look aesthetically pleasing, you know. So that's plenty good right there. Do the same to the other side. We'll soak it in some vinegar, and we will continue working on this project. Folks, I just put the axe head in some white vinegar. I'm going to let that set overnight, and when I come back to it, I should be able to just dump that vinegar out, take the axe head out, and then run some water over it, and it should just fall off the rust for the most part. And I'm already actually seeing it do its reaction to the axe head and the rust, so it should look very nice when I'm done there. And once I get that complete, then I'll go over the same process with the flap wheel and the wire brush, or the wire wheel that attaches to the drill. And after that, we'll put a really nice edge on it, get that sharp, cover that edge up, and we'll be ready for part 3, in which we will hang the axe head. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Finished soaking this axe head in the vinegar. Wanted to show you guys what it looked like. I actually let it sit. I pulled it out this morning, but I didn't have time to show you guys it exactly. But all I did after I pulled it out was I took it to the sink, sprayed it off. Most of the rust came off that way. And then I just took a scouring pad and then just scrubbed it. And I'll show you what I've got so far. Again, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'm not exactly sure. There we go. Just like that. There's a little bit on there still. But now it's much more manageable than what it was earlier. So what I'm going to do is take that flap wheel, hook it onto my drill, get it on your drill, and then just go through the same process of getting the rest of this rust marks off of here. And once I do that, I will move to the wire brush, and after that I will go to 100 grit sandpaper and do it by hand. Then I think I'll go to 250, I think that's the grit I have after that. Then I'll go to 400 and then 800, and after that it should be nice and polished. If not, I'll take the wire brush or the wire wheel and run it back across there, and it should be good to go. Finished up with that 80 grit flap wheel, and if you think about it, first I'm going to take this wire wheel and run it across this axe head. But before I do that, I wanted to discuss with you guys, I'm going from this 80 grit sandpaper, this flap wheel, because this is 80 grit, moving up to 100 grit, 250, 400, 800. So the higher the grit, the finer it is. Lower the grit, the more coarse it is. I didn't know if you guys knew that or not, but that's how that goes. So the lower the number, the more coarse it is, the higher the number, the finer it is, which is going to do the polishing work, which is what I want. So I'm going to take this wire wheel here, hook up to the drill. This can be tricky to get on. that. And just run it across there and clean it up. A lot of the stuff you're doing with this axe restoration takes patience, and if you don't have patience, you're going to struggle with it because it's not just run this drill across there one time and all the rust is going to fall off. So it is going to take a little bit of time, but if you're committed to that work that's got to be put into it, you're going to have a really good finished product on the end. If there's any more rust spots that you see as you're working here, you can just take some steel wool and obviously just rub it off. Take that steel wool and take it off. So I'm going to continue about this process, and once I get it done, we will move on to putting a nice edge on this plum. Before we go any farther into this project, I want to discuss the exact pattern of this axe head. My buddy who gave me these, he told me that after I posted the first part, he said this is a Michigan pattern with a ground back toe. So that's what this axe head is. I think it's very unique, and the character of the edge is going to look very good. Plum's just a really good brand, and I really do like their stuff. So it's a Plum Michigan pattern with a ground back toe. So I think it's going to turn out good. So what we're going to do is start with the sandpaper. I'm done using the drill because I don't want to burn up the battery in it or the motor or anything into the drill. I'm using it a lot with a high RPMs because it's not my drill. So I'm going to do the rest by hand. I think it'll look alright when I get done with it. So I'm going to start with 100 grit sandpaper. This is just 3M brand, generic, whatever. So whatever you want to use, but I'm choosing to start with 100 grit. Then I'm going to move up to 120, P120. Then I'm going to jump to 400 and then 800. And it's all going to depend on how you want this axe head to turn out. If you like the patina on it, you don't have to go as high as 800 or probably not even 400. I think P120 would be perfect, or just the 100 grit if you want that. Or heck, if you wanted this patina like this, you could just take that rust off, make sure it's in good shape, and keep it like that if that's what you want. But this one in particular, I want to clean up, get nice and polished. Not a mirror polish, but just as good as I can get it by hand with the sandpaper. I'll start with the 100 grit. And you got to remember, when you do this with the sandpaper, you're going to produce scratches. But as I move up in the grits, it's going to take away them scratches. That's why I'm going so high. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to do it, if you're looking at it this way, I'm going to run the sandpaper horizontal opposed to vertical. So I'm not doing up and down, and don't switch. Just go one motion so the scratches appear in one direction opposed to everywhere. You guys are definitely not going to pick it up on the camera, but that's making a whole bunch of scratches in this. But as I move up in the grit to the P120, 400, 800, when I get to that 800, it's going to make it look real nice. And then I can take it to the bench grinder over there with the buffing wheel and buff it up and make it look really good. So all I'm going to do is continue along this process as I move up in the grit. Finished up with the sanding on this axe head. Now I got it to the polish that I would like, and again, it's not like a mirror polish or anything, but it's cleaned up to the point where it looks halfway decent, and it's still got that patina left on it a little bit. I squared up the hammer pull on it, so that's all squared up and nice, and again, I sanded that off too. So all that's left to do to this head is to put a nice edge on there, so that's what we're going to do next. I will get my Mill Bastard file out. That's what I'll be using, and again, the Mill Bastard is the medium. It's not fine, and it's not coarse, it's right in the middle. So that's what the mill bastard is. Pull that out. I've got my little craft vise here. Again, it's not like the big bench vices a lot of guys have, but it's functional, and that's what matters in this case. So what I'm going to do is get this edge nice and keen. But before I do that, I'm going to show you guys what I like to do before I actually go at it with a file. I like to prepare a couple things, and I will show you guys that in just a few moments.